Well, here we are when Johannes Echerström from Avatar. How are you doing, Johannes?
I'm doing good. I'm checking the dates. Well, roughly 2 weeks away from coming to you, and looking forward to it very much and all that it means. It means the album release. It means the first show on tour. It means our biggest show so far as a headliner, and yeah, and it started to become real. A lot of
Yeah,
things are becoming real, and it's exciting.
yeah, that's right. Talking about it, going to the forest is almost to release in 2 weeks, like you said.
Mm.
So we have a few questions about it. First of all, you said before it's a coolest name, and I totally agree with that. So how became that name into your mind, guys?
Well. Every other album we have done, it kind of bounces back and forth, where we do one where we have a plan in the beginning, and then we do one where we figure things out along the way. And you can trace that back to Feathers and Flesh, really. Feathers and Flesh was a concept album, but it was really about figuring out what it means to make a concept album. So it was learning by doing, and therefore the vision evolved over time. That gave us enough experience to do Avatar Country. And Avatar Country started with a vision, started with a plan. We knew exactly where it was going. And because we did that, then we were kind of, oh, let's not do that again. Every time we're happy with something, um, we go boring next and want to do something completely different next time. Uh, so Hunter Gatherer was way more about again, figuring out as we went along. And the only really rule was because we had done Avatar Country was, okay, no jokes, no silliness. I feel done with that at this time. So it became a very serious album. But beyond that, it was just exploring. And then we reached Dance Devil Dance, which, well, that was written during the pandemic, which gave you extra time to think and build a vision. And and the vision was, heavy metal. Heavy metal is rock and roll. Rock and roll is dance music. And that started to put up, a framework, a lot of rules for ourselves, that in order to turn that album into what it was. And again, we felt like nailed it. Best ever. We've never been this good. Okay, cool. Boring. Next. So this was a more free journey. And in the freedom of that journey means also that the title came last day of recording vocals, sitting there. So what we're gonna name it? Oh, fuck. I don't know. And then start to talk about it, taking a good look at what do we have here. And what we had, well, we were looking at song titles because something worked. And Don't Go in the Forest, of course, it's a title of a song, but then it realized it means a lot of things, and it means a lot of things that this album means. Number one is a thing for heavy metal in general, I think, is that if you were one of those weird little kids that got into metal to begin with, well, when you hear Don't Go in the Forest, what you're hearing is, I'm totally going in the forest. So, uh, so that was a big part of it that don't do the thing means do the thing, and and explore forbidden places through art, and deal with the darkness. And because this is the weird thing about heavy metal, because heavy metal is fun. Heavy metal is dark and aggressive and a lot of things, but it's also fun and it's also uplifting and powerful and empowering, all those things. And but we go and listen to this powerful, exciting, fun music that gets us going, and we stand there in the stadium going, Metallica, woo! But Metallica are playing a song about a man with no arms and no legs who wants to die. And that's a weird, weird thing that happens in metal that I feel like salsa music is mostly about sunsets and love and dancing. Um, and it's usually like that with other genres, but we have this strange marriage between the dark and the light, the inside and outside world and everything. It's a genre full of contrasts built into it. So the title is that. The title is also yeah, the idea of exploring the forbidden rooms, because I think in the genre, in what we do, and the way I use the writing is, again, opening the doors to a forbidden place, which means dealing with things, dealing with your inner darkness and the darkness around you, and facing that. And that means facing fears. So again, don't go in the forest because it's scary, but because it's scary, you go there anyway. So it means a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And like you said before, it's in other things, it's the first time you actually play the band, the piano with one song. So what
Mhm.
another things comes to the table with the production of Avatar, which other production doesn't have?
Well, a big thing is, of course, the orchestral parts that have been there on other albums, but we had a bunch of it, for instance, on Feathers and Flesh. But this time, everything is real as far as the trumpet is a real trumpet and the violin is a real violin and so on. So it's all, we went deeper into orchestral arrangements and choir arrangements. I mean, we still do kind of the Queen thing of recording me 64 times and Henrik 32 and Tim another 32. And we do those things, the packages, of dubbing the guys in the band a lot and those things when it's choir. But we also utilized a German mountaineering choir whose whole repertoire outside of Avatar was or is songs about climbing mountains and drinking beer. So very German activities. Uh, so the live instrument factor was a big step up for us, and then playing around with. I mean, we always played around a little bit. You bring in a synthesizer for a couple of little pieces and stuff. Uh, so that was a big thing. But then the biggest changes, I think, ultimately goes down to the writing, maybe more than the production of it. Because at the end of it, we want to, whatever crazy ideas we have and whatever jazz music I listen to or what, it's still the end goal with Avatar is always to make that metal album. So, uh, so there was a lot in the process for the singing uh, where I wanted to use more of my range, but downwards, because it's been so much about hitting the high notes. And so much my philosophy around being a metal singer has been I always have to hit things just as hard as the drummer, as everyone else. So it's a metal song because it makes me really sweaty to sing. It raises my pulse. And that's still true for a lot of it. But then there's also a lot of, I've created way more dynamic this time and more space for the melodies, and maybe more importantly, more by using more of my range, downwards means more space for the lyrics to be, to convey what the song is about, because I realized that relative to what music used to be and still is in other genres more, to really sing like you're singing about what you're talking about. It's a bit of a lost art. It goes back to soul music of the 60s and ultimately goes down back to why Ozzy Osbourne is even though he's one of the most beloved figures in metal music, he was still incredibly underrated to me. You know, he, because he had so much of all that other stuff, all this stuff you cannot teach. He had that natural charisma, and he was so approachable and larger than life at the same time, and all those intangibles. But at the same time, the thing he was really better at than anyone else was to really sing in a way where he truly sang about what the song was about. Black Sabbath, he's scared. Changes, he's dumped. Um Symptom of the Universe, he's fucking psychotic. And ultimately, Mama Coming Home, one of his biggest songs. Uh, when the rest of us, we all in metal, right? We write songs about devil demons with huge tits on a motorcycle, on a dragon, on a B-52 bomber, riding through hell during World War II. Great, love it. Uh, But he has that song about I'm gonna go home and see my wife soon, and that's nice. And because profound, because he knows how to sing that. And I start to aspire to that, to that going back to the whole point of why even have lyrics, to really get into what is the song actually about and let the music and the performance reflect more of that than in our case ever before, I think.
Yeah. And I'm going to connect the fact of the release of the new record with their visit here in Mexico in Dia de
Hmm.
Muertos. So it's in the same day. So I have the question of that. The first of all is it's what we must expect about this show. I mean, you already played two songs live of the new record. We must
Mm.
expect in the release date new songs for the new record, any other
Yeah.
surprise for the Mexican audience. And the second one is, well, you, as you may know, you have a solid fan base here in Mexico. So what
Yeah.
can you say to the Mexican fan base? What can we most expect of the Dia de Muertos show?
Well, I think it's all summarized in that it's the release party. It's where everything that we're gonna spend now a couple of years doing, because that's the cycle of things. It all begins in Mexico City, and it will begin at the biggest show, biggest headline show of our career so far will be in Mexico City. So that means that for better or worse, we bring a lot of excitement to that. We are extremely excited about that. So, yeah, we played a couple of the songs this summer already, but will be plenty of first first time first played evers because of the new material, but also because it's the set that we unless we do big changes that we're gonna spend some time playing. It also will be a lot of first time in forever songs. So yeah, if you come to the Mexico City show, you will get the dibs on catching a lot of things we haven't done ever before or haven't done in a long, long time.
Oh, that's cool. So, what's your relationship right now with Mexico? I mean, you came years ago with your wife. Now you're going an amazing
Yeah.
show last year. You have a release party, and the next year you're going to play in one of the biggest fest
Mm.
here, which is Vive Latino. So, what means Mexico to you right now, Johannes?
Well, it means a lot of things. It's just, there are those sometimes I come to a country just, even just for the first time for whatever reason with a band or without the band. And sometimes you just vibe with a place. It's hard to explain, but I know. And there are a couple of places that I've visited in the world where I feel that like Poland is a big one for me, that where I just, yeah, yeah, I get this. I like this. I like this place. And Mexico is certainly that. And in particular, because of, as you mentioned, that trip with my wife and all that, that meant a lot of Mexico City. So, from what, is it the biggest city in the world right now? It's always competing with Tokyo, but I mean, it's a big place. So I haven't walked every street, but I spent some time in it, and sometimes you just vibe. And I already have, I mean, we've been there we travel through because of the festivals and things, but I only really spent real time in Mexico City twice, I would say. Uh, but one was for a week and it wasn't with a band, so it was, free. And I don't know, it's one of those things where you just vibe and I loved it. And I have my favorite store to buy clothes for my chihuahuas. I have my favorite restaurant and I have a lot of things already going there. So I look forward to it very much on so many levels.
Yeah, that's cool. And only just for mention it, I don't know if you don't know it, but a few weeks ago, we have a trouble with Ghost Show with Tobias Forge. We have a issue
Mm.
with their stomach. We have a issue with the throat with Avenged Sevenfold and Stratovarius as well. So first, a suggestion: please don't eat street food. It's
Yeah, yeah, I did that on that first trip actually. I had because that's the thing, like the world is big, so the bacteria culture in places, if you're not used to it and stuff, you're more sensitive and all that. It has nothing to do with cleanliness or something. It's just to do with Earth is a big place,
Yeah.
uh, and you get used to what you have around you. But I had that adventure where I went out to see these. I forgot what it was, the famous pyramids that the Mexicans built. That they took us on a bus ride and I saw them. I enjoy the nature around more than the pyramids. Pyramids were cool, but just the nature. So everywhere I go, I think more than what people built to see what Mother Earth built in a place far from home gets me more. But being there, I looked at the pyramids for 5 minutes. I spent 20 minutes in the bathroom. I did that, so I know what to do. I'm prepared. I will make sure that after the show, I might I have a couple of days to recover in the States, but before that, I'll make sure that I eat cooked food and whenever I get to spend a month in Mexico, I will eat more fresh stuff because then you get used to it and you're fine. But I'll be careful. I will not do Tobias.
Yeah, of course, that's our release. But we have something called the Course of Moctezuma, which foods
Exactly.
involved. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I know
that's
it
cool.
very well. Intimately,
Oh,
I know it.
all right. Taking another topic, you always take on tour with Iron Maiden and Metallica as well. So what have you learned about these legends of heavy metal?
Well, Metallica happens next year, so I'm about to see what I will learn. But one thing I learned with Iron Maiden during the summer is that Bruce Dickinson gets a lot of breaks. So as a singer, I've started to write a couple of songs with much longer solos. But that's for the future. No, but the real answer is that those two bands, as is for a lot of us, not just us in Avatar, in many ways are the most important bands to us in us becoming who we end up being. If I can make a long list of influences, and when I talk about our songwriting method, I always talk about Beatles and Black Sabbath. But here's the thing: the first trip we ever took as a band wasn't to play a show; it was going to Stockholm and to see Iron Maiden, and so they were always there. And the theatrical with the heavy metal, with them moving on stage, with a lot of things. It's so much Iron Maiden in what we do. With Metallica, here's the thing, there wouldn't be an Avatar without Metallica. Because John started the band. John asked Jonas if he wanted to start a band. It was John's initiative. Um, and John went skiing when he was 12 and broke his leg. And as he was stuck, couldn't move around much, he was gifted a bunch of CDs. And the two most important CDs in that pile were Load and Reload. And John has, ever since that day, he played a Tama drum kit and he wanted to play in a heavy metal band, so he started one. There's simply no Metallica without Avatar. So it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Full circle moment.
Yeah, that's right. So talking about the present of the future music, avatars know to make a little of a lot of music styles, and
Hmm.
heavy metal music right now had a lot of music stuff like Poppy, like Sleep Token. How do you think about this evolve of the heavy metal music?
Well, Uh, if you look at the big bands and the small bands, if you really pay attention, as I try to do from time to time, a lot of things are happening all at once. And then sometimes some bands get lucky and it gets extra popular. Uh, but that's just in the culture of what metal is, it's what's really popular at any given time. It's not necessarily there's heavy metal is a thing that also happens independently of that. So I do very much enjoy a lot of the pop oriented things as well. So I'm not talking down to that, but it's just what happens to break through and hit the mainstream for a while. which is a thing that has happened in metal. It comes and goes every 10 years or something. Something in metal goes, hey, look at it, gets noticed for a bit, which is good for all of us. Uh, but ultimately, whatever you like the most in metal, whatever is your thing, that is happening. And because metal ultimately, with all the traditionalism that is happening, with all the uh, uh, rules in different subgenres that sometimes can be stifling, the big picture is that metal at its best is a music genre that pushes boundaries. So, uh, so the state of metal has always been great. Since its inception, every year has been great. And sometimes the rest of the world pays attention.
Yeah, that's right. And let's start to finish the interview. One more personal question. What means music in your life, Johannes?
Um, it means more than I can put my words on. I think the thing is, okay, we got lucky in Avatar. We worked hard, yes, but a lot of bands work hard. We got some, but we got lucky, so we get to call this our livelihood now. And but I think we would have kept doing this no matter what. I truly believe that even if no one cared, we would have kept on caring. It would have been the end of us because I don't know if we would ever figure out how to stop. So that means that music, I'm just grateful because I have had 30 years, I made my living in other ways, and I always, my day job was always working with people to some degree. I would work with children, I would work in schools, I would work at camps with kids with special needs, I would work in elderly care. So I would always, change diapers in various ages, and I always work close to people. And in those jobs, I also used music a lot. And so the fact that, and I think that's the thing always when people ask for advice, if ask me for advice when it comes to, okay, I'm pursuing music. And I think for the sake of having a career, that advice is never stop. But also, if it's not your career, I still say never stop because it's such a gift in and out itself where really what I get out of music because I got lucky and my band, I get to go on a plane and fly to Mexico, and there will be thousands of Mexicans there losing their shit together with us. Uh, that's, of course, that's amazing, but it's such a tiny part of what it's really about. Because then sometimes, I don't know, you meet your family and you have a fire going and you sit in a circle and there's acoustic guitar and you sing all those songs you sang 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And there's that connection, the communal part of it and the creative outlet that I was before I knew how to play a piano, because my family, they bought an electric piano and I was playing with it before I knew how to play it. And I found the C and the E sounded good together. And I didn't quite, something was going on. And that playfulness and that outlet that I would make music with friends, also when I was 8 years old, a childhood friend of mine, he would, on his computer, had a program where you could, write the notes in and make MIDI music. So it was always there, always a part, always like something I would play with as a child, something I would use in other jobs than being a musician, something that I will do recreationally and all of that. So it's hard to put into words exactly what it means because it ended up being such a humongous part of my being and my everyday life, inside and outside of the band.
All right, that's cool. So, well, that's all for my part. Just for ending, please invite all your citizens or not citizens to see you in October 31 in Dia de Muertos, please.
Well, here's the thing. Avatar is a band that cares. We care so much about what we do. What we do is important to us. And with it being important to us, I think that seeps into everything we do. And I'm there to connect with you. And I dare you to show up because I dare you to not find that connection with me, with the band, with everyone in this room. There's something amazing we can create together, but we need you there for that.
Well, that's all. Well, thank you for your time, Johannes. And like I
Thank
tell
you
you, we
very
can see
much.
you there in October 31.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.